He still won't look at me. I don't know how exactly it changed or when, but it did change gradually. Little things started to happen. He would touch my face or my hair. One day Dolof came into my room and tried it on and tied it and tried it on. Yeah, and tried it on and tried it on, but Lucius came in and saved me. He said that he didn't want a pure blood mixing with a mudblood. And then the next day Voldemort said that he didn't have use for me anymore and gave Lucius the opportunity to kill me, but he wouldn't. Ron looks up then. He'd do so much for you, wouldn't he? He mutters furiously. Like killing your parents, for example. Oh, he'd do anything for you. No, Ron, listen. He did do that for me, I say. I know it sounds ridiculous, but he did it to save me. I found out later. Voldemort gave him a choice. He said that either Lucius could kill me or he could kill my parents. I hate him for it. God, I hate him for it. But he killed my parents to save me. Ron just gives me a long, hard look. One that tells me that he thinks I'm losing my mind. Before folding his arms and looking off to the side. What you saw in the pensive. What you saw in the pensive, I say, feeling myself cringe, but it needs to be said. That scene where he touched me and then beat me up, that happened just after the night at your house, where he came after me instead of Harry. It was then that I started to understand. I'll tell you what I don't understand. He cuts in. In that memory, Jesus, Hermione, I thought that he was trying to rape you. I thought, when I saw that you might not want me to see the memories because they might show that he'd forced you. For God's sake, he beat you up after touching you. He beat you up after touching you. And you were fighting him. He pauses for breath. But then a few memories later, you was all too happy to let him do what he wants. Weren't you? He says his voice so utterly miserable that he makes me want to cry. It was you who kissed him. A few minutes later, pushing into him. Almost. It wasn't like that. I cry out, feeling tears bubble in my eyes. No, I mean, yes, but at first, I didn't want to at first, but he's saw each other all the time, and everything flew out of control, and I swear to you that when it started, I mean properly started, it wasn't me who initiated it was all him. I even tried to fight him off, but I trail off. I can't speak anymore. I just don't know how I could ever explain it. Not even Lucius and I would know what the hell's going on. A long moment he just looks at me. And then he turns away from me, sniffling loudly. Oh, God, he whispers, his voice cracked. I just knew something. He sighs, bringing his hand up to his face. You must have a right laugh at me, the pair of you. With those words, my heart breaks. I walk over to him, putting my hands on his shoulders. No, I whisper passionately. No, Ron, never. I hate myself for doing this to you. I really... He shrugs my hand away, looking at me with eyes that are wet and dark with pain. So where does this leave us? He mutters. I suck in a sob, biting my lip. A sob for what might have been, and what should have been. For what has been ruined forever. Ron, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Is all I can say. You know, he says, all this time, when everything has been so awful, and I've been surrounded by nothing but pain and darkness and misery. You know what kept me going? I shake my head. Not because I don't know what he's going to say, but because I know only all too well. I have held on through everything for you, he shouts. And now I find out that the one goodness I had left in the world has been fucking a Death Eater for God knows how long. I know. I sobbed. I can't ask you to forgive me, Ron. But I'm clinging on to you, too. You were the one bit of good left in the world. And I held on to it for all I was worth. The amount of times I tried to kill myself but held on for you. I couldn't tell you how much you mean to me. More than him? He asked, his voice very tight, and without hesitation. Without even thinking whether my answer was true or not, I nodded. Of course more than him! You're my whole world! I hate myself for doing this to you! I could give everything I have not to hurt you. Everything you have? He asked bitterly. What on earth do you have left to give? He's taken everything away from you. And it's true. God help me, God help us both. God help us all, but it's true. Lucius has taken everything. My parents, my self-respect, my freedom. And now he's taken Ron. Not that he hadn't already, of course, but now it's been made official. Ron's just looking at me. Looking at me as if he's never seen me before. God, what he's turned you into. He says quietly. You don't even know what's right or wrong anymore. I shake my head. Again, fresh tears rolling down my cheek. I mean, he's evil, for Christ's sake, he bursts out. How can you even consider it after everything he's done? I don't know, I whisper, and he's crying too. Crying almost as hard as I am. I've never seen him cry before we were captured. What is it about him? He asked, his voice laced with pain. Why him? Why in the name of hell what in the name of hell has a monster like him got to offer you? I bite my lip, tears springing in my eyes. Oh, Ron, what does it matter? It matters, he said in a furious whisper. He's taken you away from... I want to know what is about him. You want so badly you're willing to go against everything you believe in for it. I paused, taking a few deep breaths. I don't want to tell him. Of course I don't. And I can't lie to him again. I just can't. He doesn't deserve that. But I close my eyes. I can't look at him as I say this. It's not that I want him. It's not like that. It's just... He told me I was nothing, I whisper. Again and again he told me I was nothing than dirt, a mudblood and an abomination, a freak of nature, a waste of air. He worked day and night to try to make me believe it. Got to the point where I almost did start to believe it. It's so hard to put this in words, and I gotta try. He deserves to know. But when I realized that he might want something more from me, it made me... I open my eyes. Ron is staring at me. His cheeks are wet again. I close my eyes again, feeling pain overwhelm for a moment before I can speak again. It made me feel human again, I whisper. Because in giving in to how he feels, he's going against everything he believes in. Just for me. And that must mean I'm worth something. I open my eyes. He's looking at me as if I've betrayed him in every possible way you can betray somebody. I never believed you were less than a human being, Hermione. I never saw you as a piece of dirt, or a throwback. You meant more to me than anyone else in the world. Tears stream out of his eyes. Oh God, what have I done? How can I do this to him? I would have looked after you, he goes on. I would have wanted to take care of you wherever I saw you. I could see how much pain you were in, and how much you were hurting. He gulps in a sob, and when he speaks again his voice cracks. I would have given the whole world just to take your pain away. For God's sake, Hermione, I loved you. And call me naive if you want. I thought that you might have loved me too. Oh, Ron. I whimper, trying to touch his arm again, but he flinches, backing away from me. And it breaks my heart. Because I wanted, since the fourth year of Hogwarts, was to hear him say those words. But I've thrown it all away, thrown it back into his face, and for what? A man who can't love anyone. Not even his own son, let alone a mudblood he professes to hate more than anything else in the world. I love you too, Ron, I whisper, my voice thick with tears. I still do! If that's true, then why the hell haven't you turned to him? Why the hell have you turned to him? Him! To try to make everything better! He shakes with his head incredulously. For God's sake, he's the one who ruined your life in the first place. I know! I say desperately. I can't... It's too difficult to explain, Ron. I know it sounds like I'm going insane, but nothing about this entire situation has ever made sense. Ever! He looks at me for a few moments before he turns to me, gripping in my head. So... His voice comes out tight. So he brings you here every night, does he? He just does whatever. His words are cut off. He makes an odd choking sound, clutches even harder at his head. God, it's just... all I can see is him touching you. And what I saw in that pensive, it's so... He chokes again, wrapping his arms right around his head. Oh, God. He gasps out. He turns to face me again, his eyes bright with tears as he shakes his head in complete anguish. How can you stand? He says, his voice choked, cracking. How can you stand being treated like this? I give him the only answer I know of. I can stand anything, I whisper, as long as I've got you. I walk over to him. See, there's this thing in this book, and I know that she likes Ron, and I know that I love Ron too. Love him to death. He's kind of annoying sometimes. He's got his seconds where he's just like, shut the fuck up. But actually in this thing, I don't know, I never feel that way. I'm never like, oh my God, shut up. But I mean, it's not that she's lying. And I know that she does. She does love him. And I'm not even saying that she doesn't. I'm just saying that it's not really fair to play into him. Like, she's playing him right now, and she's not really meaning it. She's not trying to be rude. She's not trying to be hateful. But she is lying, in a way, because she's trying to make it seem like, oh, this is some horrible thing that's happened to me. And, you know, I can survive anything. All this torture that he's putting me through, all this sex and, the love or whatever, the thing with him, like, holding on to her or whatever, all of that, that I can just survive. I can survive because of you. And it's like, dude, you're not thinking of Ron, like, oh, I'll lay in his arms or whatever, but I'm thinking of Ron. It's like, no, your bitch ass is never, ever thinking about him, except for when you're like, oh shit, I should not be cheating on him right now, even though we're not together. Like, she feels bad because she's lying to him. I'll give her that. She feels bad because she's cheating on him with Lucius Malfoy. There's a lot of cheating going on, but that's how she feels, and it's very legitimate. She is cheating on him in a way because she's like, oh, blah, blah, blah. But I mean, she's not with him or anything, but whatever. But it's like, I don't know. Anybody else feel that way? Like, it's not really fair for her to put that kind of... And she does this a bunch of times. I'm not just going off of this. She does this a lot. Even later. Especially later. Because she's like, oh, I don't really want to be with him. But the whole time she's like, will you run away with me? Run away. Like what she was saying before. Like, oh, would you leave? Would you stop being a Death Eater? And we could be together. It's like, she's like, that's what they're... Like, this is what they're going into. Like, them actually existing in the real world and them leaving and being together. And it's just... It's fucked up. It's fucked up because she's letting him believe that it's all gonna be okay. and that they're gonna get out of there, and her and Ron are just gonna be together. And it's like, sweetie, that's not even what you want. You're just lying to him so that you don't have to deal with the fact that you're kind of a fucked up person.